everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Happy and I am the Crafty Chemist, and this is a video about the coloring and watercoloring I did in the month of July. And I first, at the beginning of the month, started in this 50 diminutive seaside scenes and started doing some of my one media challenges that I had given myself earlier in the year. And so I used water-based markers on this, and I bought these markers in the 90s. So this page is looking a little rough, but I'm kind of happy that they are still kind of working. It doesn't look terrible. Obviously it's not my best coloring, but I could get better at this with practice, and this is kind of what I'm feeling like this book is for, is just like try practicing with a few things just to get used to this media. This page I based with Neocolor 2, and then I colored over it with oil pastels to try playing around with oil pastels. See, nothing in this book is going to be really precious, so I just kind of started at the beginning of it when I started coloring a page in it in June. And so again, not my best stuff, but the only way to get better at it is practice. And I want to be able to use oil pastels a little bit better since I got a set of oil pastels. And so one way to do that is actually use them. So that's what I finished in 50 diminutive seaside scenes. Last month I had a theme of water for part of what I did. Another thing that I did, I really wanted to finish this book in 2024, but I seriously doubt that's going to happen. But it looks like on July 4th, I did this with watercolors and watercolor pencils. So I used a very limited palette of watercolor pencils that are from Caran d'Ache, and I only have 3, I think. Yeah, I have 4 now. I have 4 Caran d'Ache Museum Aquarelle watercolor pencils, and so then I also added a little bit of Artistro watercolors. And I think it turned out really great. I'm actually really pleased with this one, even though it was a very limited color palette. Like I said, I was trying to do 4 a month in this and get this finished this year, but it's just probably not going to happen. But I did have a good time with that page. I think it's the only one that I did in the month of July. I'll have to look through because I kind of have a new theme. Actually, this one would fit in with a new theme. So take a look at this one for August. Another book I have that is very simple kinds of pages so I can try things out is this minimalist boho coloring book, and I did a page with charcoal, and this one I have set, so it's not really coming off. It does a little bit, but you can see there's nothing's transferred to this page. Take that out of the way. And so, yeah, I was just trying out charcoal techniques in here, and that was a lot of fun to use nothing but charcoal on this page. Could get some really good deep colors, which I really like to do, but it's kind of hard to do sometimes, make it look good. This one you saw if you've watched my Neocolor 2 storage page. I colored this one with Neocolor 2s. And this is one of my books I haven't colored very many pages in, so I kind of want to increase the number of pages I've colored in some of these. Looks like I did transfer some of this before I realized it, so I put this page in here so that I can keep those things from transferring. That's an old thing. I was looking for dragons in my book, so... In Mythic World by Kirby Rosanis, I colored a 2-page, and I started this one in June, but did not finish it, so this is it finished. I used Inktense and Polychromos for, looks like all of this that I colored in here, and so I finished this pretty early in July as well. and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I almost had forgotten about it, but it's so pretty. I just really like looking at it. I tried to make this look like it glowed, and I don't know that I did the best job, but I also tried to like make this three-dimensional. This creature, which I don't know how to say its name, it's on page 30 and 31 of the book. It has a yellow belly and then has rainbow colors for its color scheme. And I made the hair, tried to make it look like flames, which it is kind of flamey, but I tried to make it with the reds and yellows and oranges to look like flames. These here are a greenish color, and then there's multiple colors of greens and blues throughout here. And then I made a sort of gradient whisker on him that's holding the some of the lanterns over here. And then I wanted the flames below to look kind of smoky, kind of a different color of flames. But I'm really pleased with how it turned out. It took me a long time. This is, a gradient that was done with the Inktense and then colored over with the polychromos. And the entire background is 2 layers. It is the charcoal color of Inktense and then black polychromos. And I actually ended up having to buy a new black because I used it up. Well, most of it up. It's pretty short now, and that's like a first for me, is like really using up a pencil. So I like this one. I think that might be my first page that I've colored in this book. Oh no, I had one other. So I've only done 2 pages in here, both of them this year, but I've had the book longer than that. So yeah, I need to color more in there. It was a lot of fun, and the paper is really good. All right, the rest of what I have came out of 2 of the Hannah Carlson books, Seasons and Spirit Animals. I took these, they travel really well because they're thickness of the book. And I have a lot of pages marked in here that I could talk about in a second, but this is the first one that I did in it. And again, I did it on the road. So this is going to have some watercolor and then some colored pencil over the top of it, and then some glittery watercolors as well. So I have the bees and the butterfly with some glittery colors on them. Well, here's another bee down here too, and then this beetle also has some. So I colored that one, and then I colored these 2 pages also with a lot of watercolors and Inktense and the polychromos. So my butterfly is on this page. You can see there's many colors of glittery watercolor on there. I did a really light wash. This is actually Graphitint here. I think it's the Graphitint pans, because I do have the whole set of the pans that I've bought individually, but then there's all kinds of other watercolors in here. And I was trying to think if there were any other things that I used, but I'm pretty sure it was just the colored pencils after that, after the different watercolors. This page I actually had not intended to do, but when I did this one in 23 with these watercolor gel crayons, the blue and the red all came through on this page. And so while I was doing this one, I was like, well, I'm gonna give this a shot to see if I can cover it up. So no, this one, this is red from somewhere else, but you can see here there's a little bit of the blue that came through, but I made I don't know what you call this, splotchy background for it using graphite and watercolors and watercolor pencils and maybe a little bit of Inktense. I'm having a hard time remembering because it was just kind of fun. I just kind of splashed a bunch of stuff on there, and some of these darker areas are covering where there's a lot of transfer. And then I did use the Inktense and colored pencils, and only the butterfly has glittery colors on it on that page there. But I just had a good time of coloring everything else in. But I do know I did use my Graphitint pencils. Like, this is Graphitint pencil. And actually, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I've not known much on these pages in Hannah Carlson's books, like how to do these when there's just like this museum page, a layout page of what is available to be colored. But I'm happy with how it turned out. It came out pretty good. I don't know if I did any others in here this month, or if I started on the other one, which is still a whip. Yeah, it doesn't look like I did any others in here this month. But I've got a number of pages done in seasons now. And then I took spirit animals out of town with me as well. And then I had to leave town again. I was out of town a lot in July. And so this one is still a work in progress. You can see I've got hair to do. I've been shading the hair. And I need to finish the seahorses and the background water, and then I also need to do like her headgear and her armor here and her skin. So this one won't be finished for a few more days, just probably as I watch TV in the evenings. When I was out of town, there was absolutely no time to work on it because I was at a conference, so I didn't finish this one. And I don't think I have any others in here for this month because this was not very many colored pages in it. Actually, this is only the third and fourth page, I think. Oh yes, I have only one other page in it. It's this 2-page here that I did also in 2023. So I do want to color more in here because there's some really great things. But that brings me to what I watercolored, and then we'll talk about what my plans are for the next month. I don't want to make this too long of a video, but I bought these. I saw on somebody's channel that Arteza was having a good deal on these little watercolor sketchbooks, and so I did this very abstract peaches page with neocolors and a looks like acrylic paint pen. Yeah, this is just neocolors and acrylic paint pen. We had a bowl of peaches on our table in the kitchen, and there's also like some placemats that have a checked pattern that's green and blue. So I was just playing here, just having a good time with it. And you can see these are what I put into my Caran d'Ache travel kit. So if I've used Caran d'Ache watercolors, that's this stuff here. I also was playing around with the charcoal, and this is the Graphitint. I got a new, like a violet color of the Caran d'Ache watercolor pencils, so I was blending it with the others and seeing what kind of mixes I can make. Here I was trying out some coloring of some leaves and some of the Inktense. This was a sketch I made with the Caran d'Ache travel kit at a swim meet. We were at the Mizzou Aquatic Center mid-July. This one I was playing around, and I drew the strawberries with Inktense. This is before, at the same time when I started the strawberry page in the Hannah Carlson. And then I wanted to see what would happen if I used this particular glittery watercolor I have that I don't, it's kind of just got a sheen to it. It doesn't really have a whole lot of glitter to it. And I washed the whole thing with that after I did it. And it made an interesting effect. I may try playing around with that a little bit more to give something like a rosy tint or something along those lines. This is actually covering, this is a Neocolor 2 painting that I made, and it has a little bit of glittery watercolor down here I was probably just playing around and then just decided to. This one I actually have shared on Instagram. I am Happy on Instagram, and it is with the Inktense, both the blocks and the pencils, and it came from a photograph. Actually, you can zoom in a little bit, I guess, since this is smaller. But it came from a photograph that a fiber friend of mine took while she was on vacation, and I loved the sheep on the hill and the trees, and I'm actually thinking this may be one of the best art paintings I've ever made. Like, pretty proud of how that I did, and I want to do some more of that. It was really inspiring. I saw somebody else, and I apologize, I don't remember, was mixing colors for, like, they were doing 3 colors and mixing them together, and they made this like sunburst kind of effect with it. And so I wanted to make a few watercolors to go, and now I wish I knew where that set is. I did some cleaning up when I got back from my most recent trip yesterday, and I don't remember what I did with everything, but I wanted to have 3 regular watercolors to put with my graphitints. And so I picked a Azo yellow light, a rose, and I had indigo as my first choice, and so I was making blends of them to see what kind of colors I could come up with. This was an attempt at gray because I had the rose here and the Azo yellow light here, and I had too many spaces in between for things. I was kind of running out of red combinations. You can see there's red or pink yellow combinations, so you can see there's these 2 are very similar. So I just filled in the space. I added a little bit of blue to it to see if I could do a gray, or the indigo to it, so if I could do a gray. So, you know, this is the rose with a little bit of the indigo, and this would be the indigo with a little bit of rose, and this is the yellow with a little bit of indigo, and it kind of spread over here. But I redid it over here because I really was like enjoying these greens, and I wanted to see if I could expand a little bit in there, so there's a little bit more space. Well, I guess there's about the same. No, there's one more space here, and then there's quite a few more spaces here to focus more on the yellow to blue, or yellow to indigo, and then a lot fewer in here. I just did 2, but I got 2 different colors than I'd even gotten over here, so it was fun mixing the watercolors together. And then I was just mixing regular graphite, water soluble graphite, with a few other things just to see what kind of combinations I could get. So I did it with Potter's Pink and a French ultramarine, and then a quinacridone gold, an ammonite color, a shadow violet, a quinacridone red, a Payne's gray, an indigo, and a different Payne's gray. And then I also did it with the rose and the light yellow, and then I think this one is like a Indian red, and this one was a like hooker's green or a sap green. I can't remember what that was. So then I was like, well, what if I don't want the Azo yellow and the rose? What if I try some different colors? So I played with the quinacridone gold and the quinacridone red and the French ultramarine, and I made a different sort of blend thing. And the French ultramarine and the quinacridone gold did some nice granulating there. You can see that there's blue over here, and actually I think it was from the French ultramarine mostly, but I don't know. But I had a good time playing around with that, mixing stuff. So a lot of this is just mixing stuff to see what it looks like. Here I did all of my graphitint paint pans and all of the graphitint pencils, and I wanted to have an example of what they all looked like. I can see that a lot of the pencils are very similar to each other. and I actually, no, I made 24. So yeah, they're all the pencils are in here. So then I was like, well, maybe I would rather have French Ultramarine in my little kit. So I did the rose and the light yellow with the French Ultramarine and made the rainbow burst, and I really liked that. So I took the French Ultramarine and I blended it with all of the different graphitin paints here to see what kind of colors I could get. And this one, I did that with the light yellow as well. Here I was playing, I think that's with the light yellow. Maybe that's with the indigo. I think that's indigo because that's indigo is this page. So I just kind of played around a little bit with the indigo paint. This one's with the rose. So this is rose mixed with all the different colors of graphitin paint. And I was playing a little bit around with that. So I haven't done the yellow. So there's still a lot of pages left to do in this little book, but it was like World Watercolor Month last month. So that's why I spent a lot of time on this. So this is everything that I completed and did in July. I think I'm going to make a different video for my plans for August and get this one posted. But thanks for watching. If you've done some experimenting with your watercolors like this, make sure to direct me to your channel, because I obviously enjoy watching people do the experimenting and try out some of those experiments for myself. I did buy a couple of new watercolor books. Like I have this watercolor workbook, and I did one page in here just playing around. I did do this based off of the instructions there, and then I also made marks over the top of it instead of doing it with watercolors. Like I said, it looks like I need to zoom right back out a little bit, but instead of doing it with watercolors like they said, I actually did wet on wet. This was supposed to be like wet on dry, and I did wet on wet, and then I drew over it with Derwent drawing pencils and just kind of did a little bit more plain than I've done in this book. Yeah, I had a hard time finding the colors that I wanted. So anyway, I did get a couple of new books for watercoloring last month. It took forever to get here, so I haven't had any time to play with them because they just came yesterday. So with that, I will say a final goodbye and thanks for watching and happy coloring.